You're okay to start, by the way.
Okay, thanks.
All right, no problem.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I see some faces that I know. Joshua 157, I saw you last night with Oddly Obvious.
Oh, yeah.
Jada, welcome, and Melina.
Happy Sunday.
We have a few more joining. Happy Sunday. Have you all had fun with the camporee this weekend?
Yes.
That's great.
It's been fun.
Different, I'm sure. Good morning, Austin. All right, hopefully everybody has their worksheet that they've printed out, because you'll need that for taking notes. If you by any chance didn't print it out, that's okay. You can take notes on a sheet of paper instead. Also, you'll want to make sure that you have a writing implement. I have my duct tape honor pen here. And you'll also want to make sure you have the Kahoot app available. All right, it is 9:30, so we will go ahead and get started. So my name is Sharon Vital, and I will be teaching the Coral Reef Honor today. So I hope you all are excited and ready to learn some things about the coral reefs. So to start off with, a couple of housekeeping honors. As I mentioned, hopefully, again, you have your printed out worksheet or a piece of paper that you can jot notes on, because you will want your notes for when we play the Kahoot game later on. A writing instrument and the Kahoot app. There will be some things that you will need to do on your own after the honor is completed. The first off is to prepare an object lesson about an animal that lives in the reefs. So an object lesson is a practical or a concrete illustration using an object. And so it describes a principle or an idea. And Christ used lots of object lessons. If we think about all the parables that he told in the Bible, used object lessons a lot. So you will get to prepare your own original object lesson, and then you get to present it to your club for a worship service or similar function like that. And also, you'll want to make sure to include a Bible text with your presentation. So that's one thing that you will need to do on your own after today's session. And then requirement number 14, you'll also have some of that to do on your own. You get to do two of the following. One option is to make a collection of 5 different corals, making sure to obey any collection laws in your area, and you're going to be looking for dead corals that have washed up on the beach. Or another option is to watch a presentation about reefs, which you're doing that today. So, and then you just need to summarize what you've learned about reefs. Another option, if you're artistic, is to draw or paint a picture of a reef community using at least 10 species. So you're going to have 10 different types of species that live in a reef in your drawing or painting. Or if you're technical, you can create a short video about a reef conservation project and explain why it's important to protect that habitat. Also, you could make a 3D diorama of a coral community, or you can work with your director or to come up with a similar level project that you can do. All right. So before we get started, let's have a word of prayer. All right. Let's bow our heads. Our kind Heavenly Father, thank you for this day that you have given us, that we can gather together, even if it's not in person, even if it's just virtually, to study your nature that you've provided us, that show the wonderful work that you have created. Be with each of our families represented here in the coming week, and we give all the praise and glory and honor to you. Amen. All right, so first off, what is a reef? Basically, it's a ridge of jagged rocks, coral, or shell. And when most people think about reefs, they think about the variety that's located just below the surface of the water. However, there are some reefs that exist 150 feet deep and could be as much, and that's about as much as 1.5 football fields. So they're not all just along the shoreline that we think about. And there are two main building blocks of reefs. And if you're following along, we're on question number 1 of our worksheets. So the first one is the kind that we all think about, which is made out of coral. And I've got a sample here of some coral. This is a piece of one that we had collected off the beach. And coral is made up of the skeleton of the animals that's made out of calcium carbonate. And another building block of reefs can be made up of shells. This is an oyster shell. So the oyster shells are stacked on top of each other, and that can form another type of reef. So that's another one that we picked up off the beach. So those are the two types of building blocks of reefs. Now, here's a question for you. And if you go into the chat box, I want you to give me your answer. What is coral? Is it a plant or is it an animal? Let me see in the chat box which you think it is. Is it a plant or is it an animal? That's very good. Oh, you all got it. That's right. It is an animal. Even though coral is rooted into one place, like we think of with plants, they don't make their own food. And so therefore, they're not a plant, but an animal because they have to go out and get their food. All right. Question number 2. We're continuing on with question number 2. What phylum is coral categorized in? In taxonomy, you have domain and kingdom, and then you get to phylum, and then it continues on with class, order, family, genus, species, but we're not going all the way there. So what phylum is coral categorized in? And the answer to that is Cnidaria. And other animals that live in the phylum of Cnidaria include things like hydra, jellyfish, Portuguese men of war, anemones, sea pens, sea whips, and sea fans. So Cnidaria is the phylum in which coral is categorized in. All right, so what part of the coral is actually living then? Because obviously it's not this rock-like substance, the calcium carbonate. That's not the part that's living. The part of the coral that's living is called the polyp. And the polyps are animals that look like little miniature sea anemones, and their size can range from as small as 1 millimeter to 10 millimeters across. And they have a ring of tentacles around their mouth that are often in multiples of 6. So 6, 12, 18, 24, so on and so forth. And these animals live on the top surface of the coral and are connected by a thin layer of tissue. So that's the living part of coral. It's the polyps. So next, we're going to distinguish between hard and soft corals. Hard corals make up the largest order within the class Anthozoans, and the animal forms a hard external skeleton made up of calcium carbonate and is primarily responsible for the foundations of the reefs. They are made up of hundreds to hundreds of thousands of the individual polyps. And these polyps have a six-fold symmetry, meaning if you think of them as a pie, you could cut it into 6 equal pieces. And the coral that I had been showing was a hard coral, but here's another one. So this is an example of a hard coral. The other type of coral, soft coral, on the other hand, lack that hard skeleton. And they are flexible. And examples of these types of corals include sea fans and sea whips. Now, these corals have an 8-fold symmetry. So back to our pie example, you could cut the polyps into 8 equal pieces. And here's an example of a sea whip. As you can see from the example of the hard coral, there's nothing flexible about this. It's not going anywhere, very hard, like a rock. However, with our soft coral, even though this is dried out and dead, it still has flexibility into it. So let's look at some other examples of hard and soft coral. So again, we're going to use our chat function. What's your guess on these? Are these examples of hard coral or soft coral? Let me see your answers in the chat. Seeing some coming in. Y'all are on it. That's right. These are both examples of soft coral. This is a sea fan and a sea whip. All right. Next one. Which are these? Are these soft corals or hard corals? Use your chat to let me know if these are hard corals or soft corals. That's right. These are examples of hard corals. This is a brain coral on the left and an elk coral on the right. All right. Last set of examples. Which are these types of corals? Are they hard or are they soft? Use your chat function to answer. What types of coral are these? I tricked you all. The answer is really neither. It was a trick question. That wasn't very nice of me. Sea anemones and jellyfish are member of the Cnidaria phylum, but they're not corals. All right. Moving along, right along. So we're on question number 3, if you're following along on your worksheet. Where are coral reefs found? So the answer is, it depends. Shallow coral reefs are found in tropical and semi-tropical waters near the equator line, about 30 degrees north and south of it. And these types of corals need warm water. That's why they're found along the equator. Now, our deep corals, however, are found in deep waters all over the world. And I found this kind of impressive. You can find them anywhere from the tropical regions all the way up to the polar regions. And there's about 6 species that we're aware of, and they live several miles from shore. And as I mentioned before, these reefs live at depths greater than 150 feet, so way down there. So what kind of conditions?
Wait, where can you find
Coral.
deep? Where can you find deep water coral again?
Deep water coral are found worldwide.
Okay.
So from tropics to the polars.
Thanks.
No problem. Thanks for speaking up. All right. Describe the condition that are needed for healthy corals to grow. Well, if we think about the shallow corals, they need shallow water. Also, one thing to note, because I actually tripped someone up on this on yesterday's session, corals need salt water. So they're found in oceans. We don't find corals in lakes and rivers. They're in salt water. And they're going to need kind of warmish temperature, anywhere from 64 degrees, which to me is awfully cold, up to 104 Fahrenheit. So they have a bit of range of water temp that they can live in. Now, if we're talking about the deep sea coral, they obviously live in deep, clear salt water, 150 feet deep or greater. So the main thing is clear salt water. Your shallow ones are going to be found in shallow waters. Your deep ones are in deeper waters. And your shallow ones need warm water. All right. Let's play a game of Kahoot. Hopefully everybody has Kahoot pulled up. I am going to just switch my screen share here. And we shall play a game. All right, so your Kahoot PIN number is 1046433. If everybody can give me a thumbs up when they have, well, actually, never mind, because I'll see it when you log into Kahoot. So there we go. Johnny, Melina. And you can use your notes for this. Austin's on. Maya, and if I butcher names, I'm sorry. Jada, welcome. Joshua's on. Gabby, welcome. Now, I will say for those who may be joined via the YouTube, there might be a slight delay in the game. I've noticed that before when I've played through streaming. We're getting the questions slightly faster than what you're getting, and we may be moved on to the next game. You can't join, Jennifer, huh? Not sure why not. Well, you can follow along. I don't think I have a limit. All right, anybody else going to join? Oops. Okay, Jennifer, we'll give you a minute to get in then.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
For where the shallow water coral found again?
Along the equator.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let us start our first game of Kahoot. In 3, 2, 1. Definition of a reef. Is it animals, plants, a ridge of jagged rocks, corals, or shells, or none of these? Which do you think defines a reef? Few seconds left. And the answer is, I didn't fool any of you. That's right, a ridge of jagged rocks, corals, or shells. All right, let's see how we did. Maya is on the top of the leaderboard, followed closely by Melina and Jada. All right, next question. Coral are they plants, animals, rocks, or something entirely else? So none of those. Which do you think coral are? Oh, I got some of you. They are animals. All right. We've had some shifting in our leaderboard there. Let's go on to the third question. What phylum do corals belong to? Is it Cnidaria, coralization, cetaceans, or Cnidaria spelled with a N. All right. Most of you got that. Cnidaria, spelled with a C. C is silent. All right, Jada's holding on to her lead there. Question number 4. Polyps are the living part of coral. True or false? Polyps are the living part of coral. True or false? Would I lie to you? Let's see. It is true, at least in this instance. I told the truth. So polyps are the living part of animals. They form that tissue on the outside of the calcium carbonate structure. No change in our leaderboard. Let's go on to question number 5, another true false. This is an example of a hard coral. Which type of coral is this? Is it hard? And the answer is true. If it's not, the answer is false. This is an example of a hard coral. Oh, I only tricked one of you. That's right. That was the elk coral, and it is an example of a hard coral. Joshua's moving up. All right, another true false question. This is an example of a soft coral. True or false? This is an example of a soft coral. False. That's right. It's neither. That was my trick question with the sea anemone, which is a cnidaria, but not a coral. All right, no change in our leaderboard. Next to the last question. A coral reef needs what to grow? Does it need sunlight? Does it need clear salt water? Does it need warm water? Does it need fresh water? What does a coral reef need to grow? Clear salt water, that's right. Remember, some of our coral live way down deep where there's not going to be warm water. So that's why, and also where there's not any sunlight. And I already mentioned that coral can't live in fresh water. So the answer is clear salt water. So tripped up some of you on that one. All right. Had a little bit of a change up in our leaderboard there. Final question. Coral can be found only in the Pacific Ocean, all over the world, only in the Arctic Ocean. And y'all got through that before I could even answer them all. That's right. So let's see where our final standings are. In 3rd place, Austin. Great job, Austin. 2nd place, Maya, and I may have to have you pronounce your name because I may be butchering that. Sorry. And Melina came in 1st. Great job. And Jada and Joshua were runners up. Okay, we're going to go back to our presentation and continue on and learn some more things about coral reefs. All right, we have moved on to question number 4. Describe 3 different types of coral reefs. Now, you have 2 options for this one. You can either write down a description of the reef, or you can draw a picture. Your choice. So the first reef we're going to talk about is the fringing reef. Fringing reefs grow near the coastline along islands and continents. Since they grow near the shore, they are sometimes referred to shore reefs, and they are separated from the shore by narrow, shallow lagoons. And these are the most common types of reefs. So these are going to be the types of reefs that we see down in the Keys if you go snorkeling down there. So that is the fringing reef. I'll give you just a minute or so to write down your description of it or to draw your picture of it, whichever you would like. So fringing reefs grow near the coastline, separated from the shore by a narrow, shallow lagoon. And they are our most common types of reefs. All right. Next reef. And if I'm going too fast, just let me know. Speak up, either take yourself off mute or you can put it in the chat and I'll give us some more time. So our next type of reef is the barrier reef. Barrier reefs are extensive reef complexes that are parallel to the shore. So it's going alongside the shore, but it's separated by a lagoon. So they're further offshore than the fringing reefs that we talked about earlier. At their shallowest point, they can reach the water's surface, forming a barrier that would have to be navigated around, hence the word barrier reefs. And does anybody want to guess, either you can speak up or in the chat, what is the largest barrier reef? Does anybody know?
The Great Barrier Reef in Australia.
The Australia's Great Barrier Reef. Excellent.
Wait, what are they parallel to?
The shore.
What are the barrier reefs parallel to?
Barrier reefs are parallel to the shore, to the shoreline. So you can see, let's see if I can get my laser pointer to work. So you can see here's the shoreline. And then you've got your reef. Here's your reef out here that it's parallel to it. It's going alongside of it.
Thank you.
All right. Give you another little bit to jot down your notes on that or to draw your picture. So the main thing is that barrier reefs are in a line versus fringing reefs are not. They're just kind of groups and clumps of coral. All right. Our third type of reef are atoll reefs. These reefs are rings of coral that create a protected lagoon and are usually located in the middle of the sea. So they're not near the shorelines. Atolls usually form when islands surrounded by a fringing reef sink into the sea or the sea level rises above the islands. These islands are often the tops of underwater volcanoes. And the fringing reef continues to grow and eventually will form or can form a circle with the lagoons inside of it. Look how pretty the center of that, where the lagoon is. So that is an atoll reef. It's basically a coral ring. So we'll give you a little bit more to get your picture drawn or to jot your notes down, your description. All right. Moving on your worksheet, zooxanthella. What is it? Other than a really hard word to say if you're not careful. It's basically algae, but it's a special type of algae. Zooxanthella is a symbiotic algae that lives within the tissues of the polyps. Symbiotic means it's an interdependent relationship. So the algae utilizes the carbon dioxide that's produced by the coral, the waste products from the coral, and in return, the algae performs photosynthesis, producing sugars and amino acids that is then used by the coral as food. The algae is also what gives the coral its color. Now, because we talked about our deep sea corals, how they live below where light can penetrate, they don't utilize these algae for food because algae can't grow where it's dark. Algae needs sunlight. So the deep corals are often white, black, gold, or red because they don't have the zooxanthella algae to give them that color. So the definition of zooxanthella, the short answer is it's algae, but it is a special kind that helps to feed the coral. Which, going on to our next question, and if you're following along, we've skipped one. We're going to go to 6B instead of 6A. Which type of feeding occurs primarily during the daylight hours? Well, we kind of just talked about it, which is why I reordered these numbers. It's zooxanthella feeding because zooxanthella algae, they need the sunlight for photosynthesis, so that's the feeding that occurs during the daylight hours. So the answer to 6B is zooxanthella feeding. Did someone have a question? All right. So going back up to 6A, what type of feeding primarily occurs at night, and why does this result in clear water? The answer to that is nematocyst hunting. Now, nematocysts are located within the polyp's tentacles. And you can see here, oops. Here is the nematocyst cell, and it's just below the surface of the tentacles. And what happens is when prey comes by and brushes that tentacle, the barb within the cell shoots out and attaches itself to the prey. Now, if the barb didn't have a thread, wouldn't do much good, but there is this thread attached to the barb, which then allows it to pull the prey back in, and then the tentacles, excuse me, pull it in and move the prey towards the polyp's mouth. And the reason why this type of feeding results in clear water is because the coral is taking out all of these microscopic organisms, plankton, from the water, which then creates clearer water. And I've got a little video here that we will watch that shows some of this type of feeding. So you can see the little tentacles moving around the center there, the polyp center. Here's a different type of coral. And they're going in, it looks like, to me, it looks like little brine shrimp that they're releasing there, those little particles that they're feeding it. You can't actually see the cells shooting out, but you can kind of see how the tentacles are working to capture that food and then bring it to the mouth of the polyp. Here the tentacles are opening up, kind of reminds me almost like a flower. And in the center there, you can see the mouth of the polyp. So that is how zooxanthella, or not, no, nematocyst hunting occurs. Getting my feedings mixed up. All right, so moving on. Number 6. Why are coral reefs found in clear water? Well, kind of a twofold answer with that one. Corals are found in clear water because they need sunlight to reach their algae cells for photosynthesis. That's for our shallow corals. Also, corals help to create clear water by feeding on the microorganisms in the water. So kind of a twofold. They live there because it's clear, but they also help to keep it clear. So that's why coral is found in clear water. All right. Next question. Identify 5 corals that can be found in a reef. So this is question number 7. So we're going to play a Kahoot game with this. So you might want to jot down a little bit of a description about these corals so you can use it as a reference for your Kahoot game. Our first 2 are the staghorn coral and the elkhorn coral. So if you think about these, you've got the staghorn. Here are these small little thin fingerlings. To me, they remind me of a deer antler, hence the name staghorn. And the elkhorn, I think of elks as having a little sturdier, thicker antler, and these are a little bit thicker. So the staghorn coral and the elkhorn coral. And these are both examples of hard corals. All right. Our next 2, we have our sea fan coral, which they really do look like fans waving in the ocean. They just flow with the current. So this is an example of a soft coral. Maybe might remind you of a lady's lace fan she might have back in the old days. Our other coral is a grooved brain coral. So this is a hard coral, and you can kind of guess where it gets its name. It kind of looks like brain tissue with all of its squiggles and grooves. So the sea fan coral and the grooved brain coral. And again, if I'm going too fast on these, let me know and we'll slow it down. All right, our next example. This is 2 pictures of the same type of coral. One is just a very close-up picture of the polyps, but this is a boulder star coral. So you can see, looks like would be a gigantic rock, possibly a boulder. And you can see it's covered with all of the little polyps. So a boulder star coral. Also another hard coral. Our next set is the long sea whip. So you can see where that would get its name. It's got these long tendrils that look like whips. And then our last one is a tree coral. It looks like it could be a little bonsai tree. Nice pink color, red color. So those are some of the different types of coral that live in reefs. All right, time for another Kahoot game. So our number for this one is 1639290. 1639290. We'll let everybody get joined in. Welcome, Jada. Johnny's on board. Jenny's joined us. Welcome.
The screen is I'll put in the Kahoot.
Okay, so you can't see the Kahoot on the screen? All right, let me. Now, do you see it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know that. I thought I switched it over. All right. PIN number is 1639290. Melina has joined us. Maya with a smiley face. Hopefully that means that you're enjoying this. Joshua has joined us. Maya has joined us. Jonathan and Austin. All right. I think that is everybody. So we will go ahead and get started. All right. Coral Reefs Part 2. In 3, 2, 1, fingers ready. Identify this type of coral. Identify this type of reef. Is it a fringing reef, an atoll, a barrier reef, or none of those? It's something else. Identify this type of reef. Most of you got it right. It's a fringing reef. All right, next question. Joshua's on the top of the leaderboard. This type of reef is found off the coast of Australia. Is it a fringing reef, an atoll, a barrier reef? Oh, you all got that right with the barrier reef. Great job. Jada has moved up in the standings. Question number 3. This type of reef forms when an island surrounded by a fringing reef sinks into the ocean. Is that a fringing, an atoll, a barrier, or something else? Most of you got that right. It's an atoll reef. It's originally formed by a fringing reef, but once the island sinks into the ocean, it becomes an atoll. Johnny's moving up in the standings, but Jada is still holding strong, followed closely by Melina. Question number 4, true or false? Zooxanthella is a microscopic animal that eats coral. True or false? False, that's right. Zooxanthella is an algae or a plant, and it provides food for the coral. So the coral doesn't eat it. The coral eats the byproducts that the zooxanthella produces. So it's an algae, not an animal. No changes in our standings here. Let's move on to question number 5. True or false? Nematocyst hunting happens at night. True or false? Are they hunting in the daytime or at night? Let's see if you know. It is true. Got most of you on that one. We got it right. Fantastic. Nematocyst hunting happens at night. Johnny's moving up in the standings there. Question number 6. What is this type of coral? Is this a sea fan, a finger, staghorn coral, or a boulder star coral? What type of coral is this? All of you got it right. It's the boulder star coral. Great job. No changes in our standing. Jada, you are holding on to that lead. All right, question number 7. What is this type of coral? Is it? Okay, not sure what happened there. Sorry. It was the elkhorn coral. Maybe I accidentally hit skip. All right, I'm gonna move my mouse away from that. What is this type of coral? Is it a sea fan, a grooved brain coral, head coral, or a boulder star coral? That's right. That's the grooved brain coral. Y'all are doing great. What is this type of coral? Is it a sea fan, a grooved brain coral, head coral? That's right. It's the long sea whipped. Y'all are fast. All right, last question. What type of coral is this? Is it a sea fan? A grooved brain? Sea fan. I couldn't even read through all of the answers. Great job. All right, let's see what our podium looks like. Coming with the bronze, Joshua, great job. With the silver, Johnny. And first place is Jada. Great job, guys and gals. And runner up, Melina and Maya. Okay, now back to our presentation. See, I have something in the chat. All right. Hopefully, can everybody see the PowerPoint presentation where it says, let's play another game? All right. Thank you, Mr. Alex. All right, moving on to requirement number 8. Identify 10 fish that live in a coral reef. So we've got a number of examples here. And again, you might want to jot down some descriptions of these so it can help you to remember them then when we play our Kahoot game. So our first set, okay, who all has watched Finding Nemo? We should all recognize what these two are. Nemo and Dory. Our first one is the Percula clownfish. And there's over 30 different species of Percula clown, also known as anemone fish, because they are a type of fish that actually can live by the anemone, among the anemone tentacles, and they are not affected by the stinging, the barbs within the anemones. So these types of fish are found in the Indian Oceans, the Red Sea, and the Western Pacific Ocean. And one of the most famous ones, as we mentioned, is Nemo and his dad. Can't forget his dad. Although I've forgotten what his dad's name is. Martin? Anyways, our next fish is the blue tang, and it is the only species in its genus. And it has many common names, including the regal tang, the blue hippo tang, the flagtail surgeonfish, or the blue surgeonfish. And the interesting thing about surgeonfish is they have this specialized scale here at the back of the tail here that is very sharp, kind of like a surgeon's needle, and they use it as a defense mechanism. They can whip their tail around and actually cut other animals or a human if they're handling them, and yeah, and it can really hurt. How do you spell that? Surgeon? Jennifer, is that what you're wanting to know how to spell? Surgeonfish is S-U-R-G-E-O-N and then fish. Oh, anemone. Anemone is spelled, oh shoot, and I didn't have it in my notes. How do you spell anemone? I'm going to try to type and then hopefully I get it. I know it starts with an A. I don't think that's right. Let me ask my phone. Hey Siri, show me a picture of an anemone. All right, I will
I
find it.
couldn't find any matches in your photos library.
Really?
Here are some images from the web.
And it shows me pictures of humans. That's not what I wanted. All right. Let's try another route. All right, I will get back. There we go. Thank you, Melina. That looked right. Anemone. Yeah, my phone is not working. I should put that in my notes if I'm going to say the word, shouldn't I? All right, our next set of fish, we have yet another blue tang. This blue tang is interesting because it can change, well, it does change color as it develops. It starts out as a bright yellow fish, and then as it grows older, it turns blue. Yes, saying anemone and spelling anemone is really hard. And the blue tangs you have to be careful about. If you eat them, you can actually get poisoned by them. They have some sort of toxin in their bodies that is poisonous. And on this one, you can really see that specialized scale by its tail. It's that bright yellow spot on its tail. All right, our next fish is the yellowtail snapper. Fairly easy to see where it gets its name. These fish are found in the Western Atlantic oceans, and they're characterized by their deeply forked yellow tail. And this tail helps them to swim really fast, and they're agile, and then they have this yellow stripe running the length of their body. So the yellow-tailed snapper. I'll give you another couple seconds to finish writing down your description of these two animals. Yes, you list the blue tang twice. They are two different species. One lives in the Pacific Ocean, and then the blue tang is here in the Atlantic Ocean. Good question. All right. Our next set of fish is the Sergeant Major. The Sergeant Major's name comes from the fact that it has these 5 black bars on its body, which happen to be the insignia in the military of a Sergeant Major. So that's where it gets its name from. And then our next fish is a yellow seahorse. We often don't think of seahorses as being fish, but they are. And there's over 45 different species of seahorses. And seahorses, kind of like chameleons, can change their color to blend in with the background. And the thing that I like is the female seahorse actually deposits her fertilized eggs into the pouch of the male seahorse, and then the blue tang is here, and then they live there to develop. And if someone can mute themselves, I'm hearing myself as an echo. All right. Our next set of
It's Austin. Austin is kind of unmuted.
Thank you. It's kind of confusing me hearing myself twice. All right, so as I was saying, the female seahorse deposits their eggs into the pouch of the male for them to develop. And so then it's the male seahorse that will then give birth to the babies. All right, our next fish is the rainbow parrotfish. These fish can grow up to be 4 feet long. Now, when I think of reef fish, other than sharks, I typically think of these small little fish, but these parrotfish can grow quite large. And notice their mouth. It's almost beak shaped here on the right-hand picture. And I think that's probably where it gets its name of parrotfish. And it can use this strong mouth to break up rocks and shells and things. So that is the parrotfish. Awfully pretty with its turquoise scales on its body. All right, for our next set of fish, we have the Cuban hogfish, which is a type of wrasse fish, and it's also known as a spot fin hogfish. I guess because it's got that kind of a dark spot in the body. Awfully pretty there with its reddish color and its bright yellow tail. Our second fish is the royal grama, also known as a fairy basslet. And this is a type of cleaner fish. That means it goes around to other fish on the reef and it cleans off any parasites that might be living in their mouth, on its scales. So it helps to keep everybody healthy within the reef. And this is also another Finding Nemo fish. I didn't remember it at first. This is gurgle. Yes, this comes from Finding Nemo, gurgle. But actually, this fish is not native. I guess since this one was living in the aquarium, it's okay. He was an import. So the royal grama, I think these are so pretty with their bright pinkish purplish front and their contrasting yellow back end. Very pretty. All right, our next set, we have the French angelfish. These guys, kind of like our blue tangs that we talked about earlier, also change their colors and look different as they grow older. When they're young, they're really dark black color, and then they have vertical yellow stripes on them, very bright yellow. And then as they grow older, the stripes fade away, so that way it ends up just being this yellow on the edges of their scales. And these fish form monogamous breeding pairs, so they find a mate and they stick with them. I don't think that's something you find often in the fish world. Our second fish here is the four-eye butterfly fish. So you can probably guess why it gets its name, because it has a set of eye spots on its tail. These eye spots, God gave them to help confuse their predators. So that way their predators can't tell which way they're going to be swimming. These guys are awfully agile swimmers. They can swim sideways and even upside down. Now, typically, if I see a fish swimming upside down, that's not a good sign. It's never a good sign when I see fish upside down in my fish tank, but I guess for these guys, it's okay. So that is the four-eye butterfly fish. Those are also here in the Atlantic. Our last fish that we're going to talk about is the spotted eagle ray. Again, we don't often think of stingrays or other rays as fish, but they are. These rays are most often seen alone, but occasionally will swim in groups. And they are fished commercially and for the aquarium trade, but they're considered threatened on the IUCN Red List, which is the world's most comprehensive list of biological species and their status.
That
So
guy
this
is
is
also
the
in Nemo.
spotted eagle ray.
He's also in Finding Nemo.
Is a spotted eagle ray in Nemo, or was that a manta ray?
I think it was Mr. Ray because
I'm not sure.
He had spots all over him. He kind of looked like that.
Okay, I know there was a ray. I don't know the specific type. I have to look that up. Yeah, which and kind of makes sense. The whole story of Finding Nemo was based around a reef, so we should be seeing lots of these. I did try to have a lot of our fish be ones that are here in the Atlantic Ocean, so they're native to our areas. But we threw in some others just for fun. All right, are y'all ready to play another game? It is Kahoot time again. So let us All right, can everybody see the Kahoot screen? Totally. Our new game pin is 7249674. Okay, must be showing, or Johnny went off of me reading the numbers. We have one person in. 7249674. Let's see how well you remember those fish that we were just talking about. I'm going to turn our Kahoot music on. Oh, Melina, I love the fish. Smiley face from Xavier. Oh, I like the puffer fish, Maya. Welcome, Joshua, Jenny, and Kathy. All right. Oh, Jada got in just in time. I was just going to say, let's go ahead and get started. Don't see Austin, who was with us earlier, but maybe he had to step away for a moment. All right. Let us begin. Coral Reefs, part 3. In 3, 2, 1. Blue tang. Which one of these is a blue tang? That is right. Great job. Our friend Dory. Xavier in the lead. All right. Question number 2. Spotted eagle ray. Which of these is the spotted eagle ray? Excellent. You all know your rays. Oh, and we've had some shifting in our answers. Rainbow parrotfish. Which one of these is the rainbow parrotfish? Oh God, that. Wow. Xavier moving back up. Johnny's on a streak. Okay, blue tang. Which one of these is the blue tang? Can you find him? Great job. Wow. You all either know your fish or you took really good notes. All right, true or false? Is this a Cuban hogfish? Got some of you on that one. Great job. 6 of you got it right. That is the Cuban hogfish. So moving in our leaderboard. True or false? This is a 4-eyed butterfly fish. Is it? False. That's right. It did not have the additional eye spots at the base of its tail. This was a French angelfish. Some movement in our leaderboard. Okay. So, which one of these is the real 4-eyed butterfly fish? That's right. Y'all picked up on my hint on the last one. Great job. Question number 8. Procula clown. I think it's the red one. Anybody else think it's the red one? That looks like a clown. Ah, I tricked one of you. No, The red one is not the Percool clown. The anemone fish is the green one, our friend Nemo. All right, a little bit of moving. Kathy's moving up some. Question number 5. The Royal Grama. Which one is the Royal Grama? That's right. The red one was the French angelfish, and the green one was the yellow-tailed snapper. And then the other one was the blue tang. So great job. Oh, some shifting in our leaders there. Question number 10. This is a yellow-tailed snapper. True or false? Excellent. Didn't trick you all on that one at all. Melina's moving up. Johnny is holding on to that top score. All right. This is a yellow seahorse. True or false? Excellent. Great job, guys. Nobody moved on that. You all were speedy fast. Next to the last question, Sergeant Major. Which of these is the Sergeant Major? Excellent. It has those 5 bars, the insignia of a Sergeant Major in the military. And our standings did not move. All right, last question. French angelfish. Which of these is a French angelfish? That's right. That's the French angelfish. The other one was the four-eyed butterfly fish. They were both on the same slide. All right, so let's see what our final standings are. With the bronze goes to Joshua. Great job. In silver, Melina with her cute little fish. And in first place goes to Johnny. Great job. And the runners-up, Xavier and Jenny. All right, and I've got to mute that sound, or otherwise we will be listening to that sound for the rest of the presentation, which, while it's great in the Kahoot game, I don't know that I'm going to have to talk over that. All right, so back to our presentation. Next, we are moving on to requirement number 9, which is to identify 5 species of non-coral invertebrates that might live on a reef. Now, first off, what is an invertebrate? Does anybody know? What does it mean to be an invertebrate? You can put it in your chat and you can take yourself off mute.
Your spinal cord, like your skeleton's on the inside of your body. You have a backbone on the inside of your body.
That would be a vertebrate. An invertebrate means that you're lacking a backbone. So these guys have no spine, none at all. So with that being said, can anybody think of any invertebrates? Yes, a crab is an invertebrate. Not recovery there, Jonathan. A crab is an example of an invertebrate.
A sea sponge.
So sea sponge, excellent. Some other examples that we have here, we have starfish. So this particular one is a crown of thorns starfish, and they can have upwards of 21 arms. That's a lot of arms. And keep in mind that starfish, if they lose an arm, it can grow back. So it's really a lot of arms. And it can eat up to 6 square meters of coral in a year. And in 2018, there was an outbreak of these types of starfish that threatened the Great Barrier Reef. It was eating up so much coral. Our next handsome animal here is the sea cucumber. And sea cucumbers are actually considered a delicacy. I don't know that I wanted to eat something that looks like that. Plus, I doubt it's a clean animal. And they're used for medicine or as an aphrodisiac. And the demand for this animal has led to smuggling of sea cucumbers to be one of the most high-profile wildlife crimes in Southern California. Now, buying and excuse me, buying and selling sea cucumbers can be a legitimate business, but you have to have the proper permits and you have to operate within the proper season. They actually have, I guess, cucumber hunting season. Who knew? Anyways, sea cucumbers are important to the marine environment because they act as a filter. They're cleaning up all the organic materials from the seafloor and they're excreting calcium carbonate, which is then used by the coral to build their structure. So while they're not pretty, they're very useful. Our next one, we kind of almost have Beauty and the Beast going on here. We have the flamingo tongue snail, which I just think they are so pretty. And these snails, unfortunately, pretty as pretty does, which makes these not very pretty because they are predators on the soft corals. So they eat the soft corals, particularly sea fans, excuse me, and sea whips. And they're brightly colored spots. You see, that's not the shell. That's actually the soft body of the snail that's wrapping itself around the shell. And when I was your all's age, I had the opportunity to go on one of the island navigator trips down to the Keys. And I can remember seeing these shells on the sea fans. And at the time, I just thought they were gorgeous shells and didn't realize how harmful they were being to the poor sea fans. But anyways, our next invertebrate here is the Caribbean spiny lobster. These are also known as rock lobsters or Florida lobsters, but you can't quite tell from this picture, but the one thing that they lack is those large front claws like you think of when you typically think of lobsters that the American lobsters have from Maine. So, but this is the Caribbean spiny lobster. All right, our next set of invertebrates, we have the long-spined sea urchin. There's a number of different varieties of sea urchins, but this one happens to be the long-spined sea urchin. And I would hate to step on one of these guys. It looks like it would really, really hurt. And sea urchins, they're grazers, and so they help to keep down the algae population in the reef. And then the next one is the painted Elsia nudibranch. Their nudibranches are also known as sea slugs. So kind of look like a little slug there. And there's over 3,000 different species of nudibranches. So this one to me just seems to be the prettiest one of them. So I'll give you another little bit to get your descriptions written down of these invertebrates that are found in reefs. All right. Moving right along, we are on question number 10. Define bleaching as it pertains to coral and the impact it has. Well, basically, bleaching is when the coral loses its color. And this can occur due to environmental stressors or changes in them, like pollution or overexposure of the coral to sunlight or to air during low tides. And the polyps actually will expel the zooxanthella, causing their bodies to turn translucent. And without the algae, the polyps lose one of their main sources of food and will begin to die. And if the environmental stressors reverse themselves, then the algae can regrow and the coral will live. Otherwise, unfortunately, the coral will die. So bleaching is when the coral loses its color because it has expelled the zooxanthella because it got stressed out, basically.
So how How do deep water corals survive? Because they don't have the algae.
They use the nematocist hunting. So their barbs and tentacles where they're going and
Cool.
organic that way. So the type
Awesome.
of feeding that we talked about that happens at night, that is the only type of feeding that the deep corals use. Great question. All right. Identify one species, one invasive species, and how it affects reefs. This is question number 11. So invasive species are things that are not there natively. They've been transported from some other place and they become invasive because they don't have natural predators that will keep their population numbers down. So one of those invasive species for our area is the lionfish. Lionfish are native to the Indo-Pacific Ocean, and they're invasive here to the Atlantic Ocean, most likely from being released from the aquarium trade. And these fish will eat anything that will fit into their mouth. And so they wind up decreasing the number of commercially important fish like snapper and grouper here in our area, as well as they eat the invertebrates, which help to keep the algae in balance. So they really mess with the balance of the reef systems. So, and these fish, I like to use this as my object lesson. We read in 1 Peter 5:8, it says, "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour." And to me, that reminds me of the lionfish. They don't belong here. They're destructive. They just destroy everything, just like Satan has done here on this earth. And we need to be aware of the devil, just like we need to be aware of the lionfish. If you touch the spines on a lionfish, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt you. They have stinging poison in their spines. And so we need to be aware and keep Christ with us in order so that we were protected. So that's my example of an object lesson. So as a reminder, you all get to find some species within the reef, one that we've talked about, or you can go out and find your own, and you get to create your own object lesson to share with your group. Now, I have on lionfish that we found, so I am going to share that now. Did I really? No, I did not. That's what I was afraid of. Here we go. All right. Enjoy this video about the invasive lionfish.
Lurking in the Caribbean Sea is an unwelcomed predator. Beautiful yet destructive, it comes armed with venomous spines and a gluttonous appetite. This is the lionfish. With no natural predators in the Caribbean, lionfish numbers have been increasing at a rapid rate, as each female is capable of producing over 2 million eggs a year. This invader is destroying its new habitat by preying on a wide variety of native species. This includes young snapper, grouper, and crab, and fish that keep our reefs clean and healthy, like parrotfish and damselfish. Lionfish eat almost anything that can fit in their mouths. Entire populations of juvenile fish can be wiped out, leaving no fish to grow into adults and nothing for humans to eat. This is bad for our fishing and dive tourism industries. We must stop the lionfish. Here's how. Catch them. Eat them. Lionfish meat is similar to red snapper and can be cooked in a variety of ways. So do your part to stop lionfish by eating as much as you can. Bon appetit. Sustain the hunt. Eat lionfish.
Okay, so I'm really not promoting that you all go out and eat lionfish, but I just thought it was an excellent video showing the destructive nature. Okay, sorry about that. Showing the destructive nature of an invasive species. All right, make sure I'm sharing the right thing. All right, so back to our presentation. Why are reefs important to communities? Does anybody have any thoughts or as to why reefs are important to the communities?
They provide tourism.
Tourism, right? Anybody else have any thoughts or ideas?
Clear water?
Right? They help to clear up the water by eating the microorganisms in it. Excellent.
They help maintain biodiversity by giving the fish a habitat.
Right. Which is actually my second bullet. The first bullet I had was support commercial fisheries. So because they provide an area for fish to live. To your earlier point, nursery for young fish, tourism and recreation you all mentioned. And they also protect the shoreline from erosions. If you think about the barrier reefs and the fringing reefs, those being there help to protect the shorelines from the waves crashing in on them. And they also, the biodiversity, support species of fish and other aquatic lives. So great job on coming up with why reefs are important to the community. So with that being said, question number 12, or continuing on with question number 12, I should say, what are some things that you can do to help protect the reefs other than going and eating lionfish? Just kidding. What are some things that we can do to protect the reefs? Any thoughts?
Pick up trash.
Pick up trash, so don't pollute. Excellent. Or as someone else said in one of my other my class yesterday, recycle. It's the way of reducing our pollution. Anybody else have any other thoughts? How about don't collect live coral, which again, you need to find out what the laws are. But if you find a piece of coral on the sea, fine to pick up, but you want to make sure that you're collecting live coral. Also, if you're out in the Keys or snorkeling or scuba diving, you want to make sure that you're not touching the coral, because if you're touching it, think about it, you've got this tiny little animal that's living on the surface of that coral, and by touching it, you could end up hurting it or killing it, and then it's not going to be able to grow and reproduce. All right, one last Kahoot game. We are almost done. Thank you for hanging out with me here. Let me switch my screen share. Let's go that route. All right, our last and final game. Excuse me. Hopefully you all can see my screen. Our Kahoot number is 4934463. Our last Kahoot game. 4934463. Johnny is in, and you have also managed to find fish. And we've got invertebrates. You guys are so creative with finding these little critters to put on the screen. I am so impressed. Xavier's got his little fish there. We've got crabs. We've got different kind of fish. So fitting. Ah, Catherine's gone with the whales. Nice. We'll give it a little bit more for some others to join us. All right, oops, we lost one. I'm not sure who we lost. Jenny's on with the shark. Jada's joined us. We lost Melina. We'll see if she joins us here. All right. Missing Austin. We will go ahead and get started. All right. Kahoot part 4 in 3, 2, 1. First question. What is this invertebrate? Is it a crown of thorns? Is it a flamingo tongue? Is it a sea cucumber or spiny lobster? And we need some music for this one. Where's the music? The music's not playing. Okay. Oh, well, that's right. It is the crown of thorns. What is this invertebrate? There we go. There's our music. Is it a crown of thorns, a flamingo tongue, a sea cucumber, or a long-spined sea urchin? That's right. It is the long-spined sea urchin. The sea cucumber was that long, sluggish looking thing. That wasn't quite so pretty. All right. Next question. What is this invertebrate? Is it the painted Elsia nudibranch? Is it the sea cucumber? The spiny lobster? You all got that. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. Johnny is in the lead, followed by Jenny and Melina, with Jada and Maya bringing up as runners up. What is this invertebrate? Is it a crown of thorns, a Caribbean lobster, the painted Elsia nudibranch? That's right. It is the painted Elsia nudibranch. Right, some shifting in our standings here. Question number 5. What is this invertebrate? Is it the crown of thorns starfish, the spiny lobster, the nudibranch, or a sea cucumber? You guys got that one right. That was the sea cucumber. Some shifting in our scoreboard there. How about this one? What is this invertebrate? Is it the sea urchin, the lobster, the snail, or the sea cucumber? Which one is this? The flamingo tongue snail. Excellent. Y'all did great on that one. Jade is moving up. Some Maya's on a streak with 6 correct answers in a row. Great job. Last question. This is an invasive species. True or false? Is he invasive? And when I say invasive, that's right. Here in the Atlantic, it is considered an invasive species. In the Pacific, not so much, but here he is. So let's see what our final standings are for part 4. With the bronze is Jada. Great job. In silver, Melina. And in first, Johnny. Great job, y'all. All right. Time to mute that back down again. All right. Fantastic. Get back down here and back to our PowerPoint. And back there. And I see I have a chat. Yes, great job all. Okay, so that concludes our presentation. So just a reminder of some follow-ups, which I should have put a follow-up slide here for your object lesson that you need to do. Don't forget, you need to come up with an object lesson provide or share it at a worship service or some other function within your club. Make sure you include your Bible verse and make sure to let your director know, which I guess if you're doing it at worship, your director's going to know. The other thing is to do 2 of the following. So this is where you've got some choices. You can, oh, I didn't re-update this slide. Okay, I'll leave this one here. You can visit an aquarium that exhibits reef species. This wasn't on the original honor, but you could consider this as one of your other options. You can make a collection of at least 5 specimens of dead coral that you find washed up on the beach or fossil corals, making sure to obey collection laws and making sure it's dead coral, not live coral. Watch a presentation, which you've done, so you're halfway there with this one, and then all you have to do is summarize what you've learned about reefs. So again, if you're artsy, you can draw or paint a picture of a reef community with at least 10 different species for your reef. So you can't draw 10 clowns. So you need a purple clown, a blue tang, star coral, so on. You get the picture. Haha. All right. And another option is to make a short video about reef conservation and explain why specific habitat should be saved. Or you can create a 3D diorama of a coral community. And that concludes our presentation. So hopefully you all learned something. You had fun. And you can share the importance of coral reefs to your friends. I thank you all for your participation and feedback, and y'all were a great group. So let's close with a prayer before we all go, if we can bow our heads. Our kind Heavenly Father, thank you again for this time that we've had to be together to learn about your creations and how we should take care of them and how they're important to our environment. Be with us as we continue on this day and help us to always draw closer to you. In your name, amen. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your camporee. Bye, guys. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Okay, I'll pause recording.